All right, I'm in my friend's kitchen. And he's got this little board on the edge of his counter. Let's upgrade him. The first step whenever we're building any kind of cabinets or anything like that is we're going to stop, draw out a little diagram, and make a nice little cut list of what we need to cut out. All right, we're here in the shop. We're about to make the first cut. We got our single side pre-finished plywood. We got our table saw set. We're going to go ahead and start cutting this thing up. The first thing we want to do is cut a little dado right across this dotted line for our bottom piece to sit in so that we have structural support downwards. Now, I have my back plate is 4.5 inches wide because our overall width is going to be 6 inches. And then I have my bottom plate is going to be 5 inches wide because it's going to recess into the sides a quarter on each side. So I put my dado blade in my saw to perfectly match the width of the plywood that I'm using. And then I have a little 1/4 inch block right here, and I'm going to use that to determine the height. Now I'm just going to go like this, and I want the tip of those blades to just barely crest the top of that 1/4 inch piece, because on the sides they're not doing a flat cut. So I want to go in between the low side of the V and the high side of the V on the outside blades of this dado. Once I get it where I want it, I'll lock it into place. And then I'm going to set this. We want the top of our dado to be 4.5 inches because that's going to represent the bottom of our toe kick plate. This bottom plate is going to sit in here just like that. All right, guys, now we're cutting out the toe kicks here. I use a table saw to do this, and I just undercut it a little bit with my outside facing up, so I cut more on the inside where it doesn't matter. All right, we got all our pieces cut out. We got some wood glue. We got our nail gun. It's time to pop this thing together. Perfectly flush on the front. Back piece. Get me started up there. And we'll slide her in. Now we've got a nice tall little cabinet here. That's going to go in place of that 2x6 and work for structural support on the bottom of that counter, while not taking up a ton of space, and we can put pots and pans and stuff in here. All right, now that the cabinet's all made up, we're going to start putting our trim on here. So I'm going to lay a little thing of glue, and then I made our trim pieces out of some alder I had left over, but if you don't have the ability to make your own trim, then you can get some just from Home Depot or something. So we're going to flush it up there at the top, and I made these little jigs for us to get the exact amount of overhang that we need. And once we're both good and flush, you good back there? Flush at the top. Now we'll jam a few nails in, and the glue will hold it where we want it to go. Good? Yep. Okay, so we got our cabinet for the most part made. Now all we lack is to build a door, do a little sanding, filling up these nail holes, and then put the trim on. Now I could do a whole nother video on how to build a door, so I'm not going to include that in this video. Now we're using a 1/2 inch overlay hinge, which means that it's going to go 1/2 inch this way and lay over the face of our cabinet 1/2 inch. So to make it even, we have to add a 1/2 inch on this side as well. So 4 3/8 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. Now I'm not great at math, but that's easy even for me. 5 3/8 is going to be my total width. Now I'm also going to add a 1/2 inch on the top and a 1/2 inch on the bottom to make sure that my reveal is nice all the way around. Now to wrap up the exterior of this thing and bring it all together before we start sanding, painting, and putting on our door, we're going to put some trim around the outside edge all the way around just to make it look nice and finished. And for that, I have these leftover pieces of thin alder that I used on my sauna, and I think they're gonna work nicely. I'm just gonna cut them down to maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches, and just kind of outline this whole outside. And I'll be sticking it on with CA glue. Okay, now we got this thing painted. We got the door made and painted. Now all we got to do is put the hinges on this, then stick them on there. First thing I'm going to do is mark out where my hinges go. I'm going to put it on 5 inches. The height is kind of arbitrary. So as long as they match, then that's fine. So I'm going to make a little mark at 5 on there, 5 on there. Then they have to come in from the edge 13/16. So I'll set my ruler, make a mark, make a mark. Then I grab my trusty dusty drill and I'll start drilling. I just want to be deep enough so that these can go in the pocket and sit flush. All we got to do is line these up as even as we possibly can. Hold them down and mash a screw in there. Now all we got to do is put this mug on here. Now before we do that, to make it easier, I'm going to create a little jig for this thing to set on so that it's easier for me to set this, so I'm not trying to hold this and screw it in all at the same time. I know I got a 1/2 inch overlay on the bottom because that's what I got on the sides, on the top as well. So I'm just going to measure what this is. It's 4.5 exactly. I need a block that's going to be 4 inches tall for me to set this on. All right, I try to get this angled where y'all can see, but basically I just got a few pieces of plywood right here that add up to 4 inches. I'm going to set everything kind of where it goes. Everything looks good and flat. Now I'm just going to shoot some screws in. Luckily I got this super long drill bit right here. It's going to make it a little bit easier on me. Nice. And I'll do the top one the same way. And you really want to make sure they're sitting flush against the outside. Whoops, gotcha. Now we'll see how it closes, but I'll probably have to make a couple of adjustments. It actually looks pretty dang good off the rip. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now that we got this on there, I'll head over to my friend's house. He's going to have us a piece of handle hardware we're going to stick on there. and then we'll pop this thing in. All right, now that we got this thing wrapped up, we're at the moment of truth. We're going to see if it's a good fit. Now, it should be just a little bit short, and then we'll shim it up. I like it. One quick thing we need to do real quick is cut that trim away so that we have a matching fit with the rest of the cabinets. All right, now that we got this mug slid in there, the last thing to do is we're just going to shove some of these little shims up in here and get this counter as level as we can, and also support the counter with this little cabinet right here. All right, we got this thing wrapped up. I think it looks at least a little bit better than this bad boy. And then also we got some additional storage in here for my boy Marcus. So that's always awesome. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Tell me what I did right, what I did wrong. If you love it, if you hate it, let me know.